It's 5 to 10. Furthermore, I cannot believe that I've managed to be on schedule for the day. I want to tell you that is, excuse me, sorry, that didn't hurt at all. But more importantly, I want to thank you so much for being here with me. I think there's so much ground that we covered today, and I was just going back through some of my notes, and I have no shortage of notes for sure. And it's funny because a lot of these stories I've heard before, and that's really what kind of sparked me to want to seek out these conversations, to share them on your behalf, to be able to share these conversations, to see the strategies and to hear the perspectives that I've been hearing for quite some time that have really led to some amazing breakthroughs and some really wonderful evolution in my own life. You know, if we start with this morning, we can look back at MasterChef Olivier Andrini kicking us off. And again, that was just over 12 hours ago. So if you've been with me for the day, congratulations. That's awesome. You know, and Chef Andrini, we were able to touch on the apprenticeship and how that affected his career. After Chef Andrini, we dipped right into the monk and the mastermind, Rick Ladendorf and Craig Marshall, and the two of them went into becoming the 21st century leader, creating a healthy and sustainable culture. One of the biggest, most impressive takeaways from that for me was, you know, creating or making the hospitality industry a noble profession again. I think that's beautiful. I know it's a passion of it's a craft of passion. It's a labor of love, and the people who are in this field and who are excellent in this field truly love this field. And I thought that just totally, completely grabbed me. You know, I laughed when they started talking about how we live in kind of a grumpy culture, and damn, that's a funny way to go about things. There were so many other takeaways from that, but those were really the big ones for me. The two questions that they left me to ask myself if I ever found myself in a situation that I might not be proud of. Do you know what your people think of you? Do you want to know? So often, well, I mean, I talked a little bit about a filter today in my presentation at 4:30 today, talking about the filter and those questions that keep us in line with our purpose. And those are two phenomenal questions to keep you in line with your purpose, right? If you want to know what your people think about you, you're going to find out. If you don't, then that's probably a pretty good sign that you might want to do some more people work. After those two, we went right into Chris Galarza, Chef Chris Galarza, who is really probably very quickly becoming the foremost expert on kitchen electrification in the United States, which is probably a new field to many, but at the same time, it shouldn't be, and it's long overdue. Talking about kitchen electrification and, you know, incorporating electronic devices into the kitchen. You know, I appreciate the fact that I think we all take for granted the fact that the majority of the devices that we use are electronic. The majority of the things that we use, they run on electricity. And so if you put aside the things that we think we know in gas appliances and in gas equipment in the kitchens, maybe you can learn something to the benefit and start taking another step in creating an environment where people want to be a part of. I don't know about you. I'd love to hear some of the notes that you've taken. If you want to put those in the comments, I would absolutely love to hear those. I'd love to read them as well. And as I'm going now, I might not have a chance to read them right now, but I will definitely have a chance to read them later. So let's talk a little bit more. You know, Chef Chris, he has Sustainable Overload, the podcast, where he talks about a lot of these things. We threw up the document for kitchen electrification from the William J. Werther Foundation, something to look into if you're contemplating, you know, moving towards a hybrid kitchen or moving towards an electrified kitchen. Some really key pieces of equipment: ventless vents, hood system, ventless hood systems that don't require any ductwork to go outside and recirculate the air, induction cooktops, just a really great topic to dive into and something worth considering, especially if you're looking at a remodel or looking at spending the money. And then from Chef Chris Galarza, we jumped into Master Chef Sean Loving. This was still before our midday break, but Master Chef Sean Loving, he charmed us with his humor, and I absolutely love every minute of conversation that I share with that man, because we have some amazing conversations. In fact, I can't leave a conversation with him without feeling good and without smiling and knowing that I just talked to a professional who truly cares about this business. And if you're a young cook and you're looking for somebody to go work for, he is on that list of people that you should definitely spend some time working with. You know, him talking about mindset shifts and talking about failing forward through his opportunities. You know, I really love his perspective and how he did his runs for his market basket. Asking yourself what really matters to you as a chef in this craft. You know, we had some deep conversations, and a lot of it probably seemed a lot like high-level strategy stuff. But when you step back a little bit, they're the questions that need to be answered when you're looking for the why we do things. Balance has come up in a few different conversations today, and I'm very similar to what Ken was saying, or Ken Arnone was saying in our 7:30 session about balance, and how no matter what, there's going to be periods where you're out of balance. And if you're out of balance, you may as well be working towards something at that time and work towards long-term balance. There's a big difference between the short-term and the long-term balance. If you're always in short-term balance, I don't really think that you can overcome a whole lot of hurdles. I think kind of need to put some things on the back shelf for a little while so you can hammer out a project, and then you can come back and counterbalance that out by spending the time with those people who you spent some time away from. And then we got into our afternoon session, and now just before the afternoon session, there were a couple of questions that I wanted you to ask yourself, and I went over those, and I'll go over them again. So if you were taking notes today, and if you have a notebook, if you haven't taken notes, whatever that is, I'd like you to take a few minutes with me here. We're just going to take, a little less than 5-10 minutes, and I want you to answer some questions for yourself. They're not for me, they're for you. Take a few minutes and look through the sessions of the whole day. If you already did it for this morning, awesome, let's do it for this evening. And what do you want to remember from this afternoon sessions? What do you want to remember from today? What is it that you want to be able to take forward with you? What is something that you want to incorporate? And what is one action you're going to take after we get completed here, after we get into this? You know, if you go back through my session this afternoon, was all about the mindset of mastery and the power of the first draft. I spent quite a bit of time talking about avoiding macro failures by failing small on the small scale. And quite honestly, it doesn't really matter what you start doing as long as you get started and know that that first draft is probably going to suck. That's okay. It took me a long time to get okay with saying that. Like, that first draft is going to suck, and that's okay. Get the second draft better. Make the third draft better. And quite honestly, all the professionals that I work with, they go through that period of knowing that things are going to be kind of crummy. They're going to be rough. It's going to be ugly. That's why the first draft is called a rough draft, or a first draft, or a first iteration, because it's the first of its kind, and it can always get better. If you look at it as an iteration, though, you can make sure that it gets better. After I got done right around, 5:50, 5:45, Chefs Paul and Chrissy Jensen, the owner and couple the owners of the Dotted Lime and the Lime and Loaf, located in Columbia, Tennessee, spent quite a bit of time talking about their gluten-free business. The restaurant that they built with the intention of being 100% gluten-free, as well as allergen conscious and allergen free, without tasting like it was gluten free or allergen free, I think created a perspective that I think we can all follow, right? Chrissy Jensen spent a little bit of time talking about how so often the standard for gluten-free is that it's gluten-free and it's edible, aka like not poisonous, yet not good. And yet their standard was for it to be gluten-free, allergen-free, and not even be noticeably different. They wanted to make a biscuit that was a great biscuit, not a great biscuit for gluten-free. They spent time and energy going through iterations and going through different development and working on these products to come up with some pretty phenomenal products that are really industry changing. In fact, what I would call market shifting. It's a wake-up call to the gluten industry to say, hey, look, the majority of what's out there sucks. You guys need to get your stuff together. So if you're in a professional environment and you're looking for gluten-free, bark up their tree. TheDottedLime.com, you can buy their mixes. If you have the All Access Pass, you've got mixes coming your way already. And I'll tell you, you will not be disappointed. If you stayed for Chef Arnaud's presentation, I got him hooked on the mixes. So he had the pancake mix the other day and he was absolutely thrilled with it. So, moving past that, take a look at Paul and Chrissy and how they work together as a couple, or Paul's shift for a little more balance in his life into being an entrepreneur and starting an enterprise with his wife. 3 books he recommended: Raving Fans, which is a phenomenal read, Quitter, and then Start by Jon Acuff. Just a couple phenomenal reads. I always encourage everybody to grow what you know. If you never look outside of yourself for more information, for more tools of growth, then you're missing out, because there is a phenomenal wealth of knowledge that's out there. I think that ties really well into Master Chef Arnaud's presentation. I don't know, he started a little bit early, but he started rocking right at 7:30 talking about the basics of mastery. But it's not about getting all information, it's about getting good information. And with Ken, he was spending quite a bit of time talking about his definition of mastery. He wanted to know what mastery was to you, so that way he could tie that into his presentation. He spent a little bit of time talking about daily routine, menu creation, accompaniments, getting feedback from master chefs. What are those things that you want to remember, that you want to take forward? With Ken, I spent 2 pages of notes, and he and I have had countless, hundreds of hours of conversation, especially when I first talked to him about getting serious about pursuing the Master Chef exam, and yet I still find myself taking notes. And we had a phenomenal Q&A today, getting into mastering the basics. He had so many great one-liners in his conversation. I don't even know how to highlight them all. Chefs cook ingredients, not recipes. What a great way to put that into perspective. Recipe is a good place to start, but we still have to know the ingredient and the technique and put those 2 things together in order to get the right result. Right? It's a beautiful thing. Ken went even deeper and started talking about the beauty of simplicity. Sent some great food pictures up on the screen and went through a critique of his own stuff. After Ken, we finished it off with the grandfather of the Master Chef exam, and the grandfather to many culinarians in this country. And I think so many of us take for granted the rich heritage and history that we as American chefs have, that we can be proud of. Knowing that we all have a lineage that goes back into the 70s when the United States Culinary Olympic team tied the French Culinary Olympic team with Joël Robuchon as the captain of the team up on the podium. Do you realize the power of that? Thinking about Alice Waters shifting perspectives in the 70s and all of the phenomenal chefs that came around that time, Jeremiah Towers, Daniel Boulud, then into Charlie Trotter. I know I'm blending a lot of different eras of chefs together, but never lose sight of where we come from. We have a phenomenally rich heritage as professional chefs. Don't lose sight of your lineage. And don't lose sight of the fact that we have a responsibility at this point in time to pass that lineage on to the next generation. I developed this philosophy that if I didn't spend the time teaching my cooks what I wanted them to know, then I couldn't hold them responsible for knowing something that I never made sure that they knew. And that made me a much more accountable chef. Chef Ken talked about accountability and responsibility and the power that exists there and how important and enriched that made his life. It's a tough lesson. It's a tough lesson to take a criticism, to take feedback, to take a culinary beating for something somebody else did, but it teaches you to take responsibility for everything that's going on in your environment. As a young cook, that's a powerful lesson, because as a chef, it's not just a lesson, that's your life. It's never too early to start teaching people. We just need to figure out the next way to reach, to connect with the new generation of chefs, because they're out there. Great food will always be a relevant thing. Great food, great crafting will always be relevant. There will always be hungry people. A braise will never go out of style. I don't care who's making it. I don't care if you can buy it in a bag from Cisco or wherever. If you can make a phenomenally braised piece of meat, there will always be room on a table somewhere with somebody willing to pay for it, because it's fantastic. Great food, great craft, they go hand in hand together, and they provide a phenomenal future for us and for the industry. If you're a chef, be proud of that. Be proud of your heritage, be proud of the craft. Remember that mastery isn't a destination, it's a path. It's a purpose. That's what the summit's all been about. I spent the better part of, more than 12 hours at this point in time talking about that. Mastery is a perspective. It's a constant growth perspective that never ends, but it allows you to enrich your life every single moment you live it. Incorporate as many of these lessons as you can. Get as much knowledge as you can and apply it to your life tomorrow. Start. If you got questions, reach out by email. I'm available to anybody. Replay will be up and live for the next 24 hours. Have at it. Get into it. Watch it. 24 hours. If you want replays, reach out. We can still have the All Access Pass available, and that way it's hosted. You have unlimited lifetime access once you get the All Access Pass. It's stored in the members area, but that's not necessary right at this point in time. If you want it, check it out. If you have questions, reach out. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your time. Thank you for trusting me with my wisdom. Thank you for listening to my guests and the respect and the time and the energy. I can't wait until our next event. Do me a favor, share this event. If you liked this, share the link. If you enjoyed it, start spreading the word a little bit more. The more spread I get, the more people I can reach, the bigger these events can be. And if you like this, that would be the most amazing thing that you could do, is share the word, spread the word, and let's build this community bigger, better, and let's continue to do these great events. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Yet again, I am so humbled to be here and share this with you. I wish you the absolutely most amazing night. Happy Sunday. Happy February. Have a great night.